Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I focus on everything luxury beauty and fashion. If you're interested in luxury vlogs, the latest fashion beauty trends, then you are in the right place. Today we have the most glamorous unboxing of the year, which is the Dior Couture collection. Given how glamorous the packaging is this year, I feel like I have to dress up. And I have to warn you, this is a massive product launch. So I'm going to walk you through all the little details about the products that are included, the price differences versus the previous years, the swatches that I've done in the stores, as well as my final thoughts, whether I think you should pick them up or not. And most importantly, for Dior's Couture collection, you can actually take the products out and turn them into a clutch or a wallet. So I'm going to show you how to do that. If you're interested, please continue watching. I also want to mention that I have a few more Dior Holiday videos coming up. I'm going to unbox this year's advent calendar, which is going to be very exciting. I also want to talk about the freebies that I got this year by ordering Dior Holiday collection from the online boutique, such as this beautiful jewelry case, which I don't think I received in previous years. It's absolutely stunning. So I can't wait to talk all about that in my next video. If you're interested in those contents, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button down below so that you don't miss out. Your support will really help me grow this channel, and I thank you in advance for your support. Why don't we start by talking about the products that are included in this launch. And as usual, they introduced two couture palettes. One is a smaller one with 5 eyeshadow shades with a shimmery texture. And then they introduced a face palette with 5 eyeshadows in the middle, 2 highlighters on the left hand side, and 2 blushes on the right hand side. And below that, they've got 4 lippies with both, nude and pinky shades. We're going to talk more in detail about that palette in a bit. Dior launched 2 Dior Show eyeshadow palettes, one with a warmer color story and the other one with a cooler silver tone color story. And both palettes are very beautiful, and they also changed the packaging this year from the black lacquer packaging to a gold shiny packaging. And I'm going to show you some of the swatches that I did in the store. I would say immediately I was drawn to the color story of the cooler tone color palette just because how different it is. I believe Dior launched a similar palette last year, but it's mostly silver, gray, black, very, very cool tone. I think this year this palette is a little bit more balanced. It has some pink to bring a little bit of warmth to the look and increase the versatility of how you can use this palette. But at the same time, it gives you that very frosty winter beauty type of vibe. The warmer palette, it's beautiful, but I just feel like it's so common, it's so overly done by so many brands. So I would say between the 2 palettes, I would pick the cooler tone eyeshadow palette. And then they introduced 4 shades of Rouge Dior lipsticks with special holiday embossing, as well as a gold case. And then they introduced 2 new shades for the Dior Addict collection. And also there is a new case that matches this year's holiday packaging. For highlighters, they introduced 2 shades as well. One is leaning more pinky and the other one is more coral with this packaging. And then because last year the sequin lipstick was such a huge success, so this year they introduced 10 new shades and I picked out 2 of them. Dior also launched 2 limited edition eyeliner colors, which I think are very, very pretty. So they're kind of understated but sophisticated colors. I did not pick them up because I already have a lot of eyeliners in my collection. They're not necessarily from Dior, but I do think I have those two colors. There are also two new holiday nail polishes. One of them is a gold glittery shade that's intended to be used as a top coat, although I like to use them just as it is, and I think they're absolutely beautiful. And then they also introduced a burgundy shade that matches pretty well with the warm toned Dior Show limited edition palette, which we're going to talk a little bit more in detail in a bit as why don't we dive into the price differences? We're going to compare this year's holiday collection versus last year's. I'm going to give you a run through of the price differences between the permanent collection and this holiday collection, as well as the price increases that took place in the last few years. I'm also going to break down the face palette into different components and help you understand how much money you're saving by purchasing this face palette as opposed to the individual components. I'm going to start with the smaller palette. So this palette has 5 shimmery shades, as I mentioned earlier. And the packaging this year, I think, is especially luxe compared to the previous years. I didn't pick up this palette from 2022 and 2023 because I didn't really like the packaging. But this year, the packaging is made of linen. And the gold embossing is not printed on the box. They are kind of raised from the surface. So I think it's very nicely done. But I'm going to show you price increases over the years, which is quite remarkable. I picked up this palette from the 2020 collection for about $50 and now this palette is retailing for almost doubling the price, which is pretty crazy. But I would say this year's color story is quite interesting, especially with the purple that's being included. And in the demo that I'm going to do in a bit, I'm going to show you how they look on the face, and I think they are quite pretty, to be honest. And for the face palette, also had incredible price inflation over the years. It costs almost double now compared to 4 years ago when I first started collecting this palette. Given the diversity of the products included, arguments can be made that it actually helps you experience different Dior beauty formulas by saving money purchasing each individual product. So let me break this palette down into the different components so that you can visualize how much money you are saving. Starting with the eyeshadow quad in the middle, which resembles the Dior Show eyeshadow palette in the permanent collection that retails for $68 and 88 Canadian dollars. The two blushes on the right hand side add up to the weight of one full-size blush in the permanent collection, which costs $45 or 61 Canadian dollars. Similarly, the two highlighters on the left-hand side add up to one full-size highlighter in the permanent collection, which retails for $50 and 68 Canadian dollars. The lippies add up to 4 gram, which is about 2/3 of a full-size lipstick. So they convert to around $26 or 35 Canadian dollars based on the price of the Rouge Dior lip refills. All that math is telling us that we are saving $42 and 72 Canadian dollars on this palette compared to buying all the individual products. So I would say this is a big win for people that do not have a lot of Dior beauty products in their collection and you are into those shades. Let's talk about the eyeshadow quads from the Dior Show collection. Price increases are at around 5% compared to the permanent collection. So that seems fair in my opinion, given the limited edition packaging as well as the uniqueness of the shades. Moving on to the highlighters, which are about 10% more expensive than the permanent collection. In my opinion, that is justified given the nicer packaging, the holiday embossing, and the unique shades. In terms of the lippies, the liquid lipsticks are around 4 to 7% more expensive, and the Rouge Dior lipsticks are 10% more compared to the permanent collection. Last but not least, the Dior Addict lipstick cases are about 10% more compared to the permanent collection, but I have to say this year's case is definitely a collector's item. It's so absolutely beautiful. I almost forgot to mention the nail polishes, which are about the same as the main collection, about 5% price increase, and they were the first to sell out in my local stores. We're going to do some comparisons against previous year's collections. Luckily, I've been collecting Dior Couture packaging for a few years now, so we can compare this year's Couture eyeshadow and face palette versus the previous year's. And then I'm going to show you some of the swatches that I've done in the store and walk you through my thought process, why I picked up certain products and not others. At the end of this video, I'm going to show you a face demo in terms of how I achieved today's look using the two couture palettes as well as the new sequin lipsticks. So comparing to previous years, the layout of the products are very similar. So you get 5 shimmery eyeshadows within the smaller eyeshadow pan, and you get a basically Dior Show quad in the middle of the in the face palette, and then you get 2 blushes and highlighters on each side. And as usual, you get 4 lippies in the bottom, which I would say is not my favorite feature of the face palettes, just because I just don't like, eyeshadow powders going into my lipstick. But I do think it is a really good way for you to test out different shades. And for people that are new to Dior, I feel like it's a really good way to experience the formula of different eye and face products from Dior to determine if you enjoy the color story or the formula in order to purchase a permanent collection product in the future. I want to first show you the comparison between the eyeshadows in the face palette versus the small palette. I would say the face palette formula is more matte and neutral, whereas the smaller palette is more shimmery and bold. And for those of you that own the face palette from 3 years ago, here's the swatch comparison for the eyeshadow quad in the middle. I would say this year's shades are leaning more red and brown, while the previous year's collection is more neutral. In terms of blushes and highlighters, I think this year's pink highlighter is very pretty and more pigmented than previous years. Highlighters are more subtle and not outstanding in my opinion. I think I prefer the highlighter from the previous year's collection. The 4 lippies included in this year's palette also seem to have a wider range with a brownish red shade and a fuchsia pink. In comparison, the lippies in the previous year's collection are mostly reds with minor variation. I also want to quickly show you how to convert this couture palette into wallets or card holders. All you need to do is use a tweezer to take out the plastic container inside. It's quite easy and straightforward, as you can see. And there you have it, a beautiful eyeshadow and a couture card holder. In terms of lippies, I picked up 2 of the sequined liquid lipsticks, one in the iconic 999, just because I think it's so classic and it'll be perfect for dinner parties or New Year's Eve parties. I also picked up a orangey peach color that's new this year, which I think will be great for the spring. Even though I only picked up 2 shades, I think all 10 shades are very beautiful. So I want to show you guys the swatches that I did in the store to help you decide which colors you want to pick up. Starting with 100, which is a perfect nude shade for the day, I can see this color being one of the first to sell out. 333 is the one that I purchased, which I think is gorgeous. 323 is the shade used in the official commercial. Twinkle and Sensation are both cool tone nude shades that are quite unique. Divine is a deep red, and 999 is the most iconic Dior red, which is what I purchased as well. 353 is a pinky red shade, which is very sophisticated.
and 893 is a purplish red color that will go well with a purple eye look that's very on trend this year. Last shade 903 is a dark purple shade, which is a little bit too much for me, but the sequins show up the most given that this is the darkest color of the collection.
In addition to the very popular sequin liquid lipsticks, they also introduced new shades for their main Rouge Dior lipstick line. So there are 4 shades in total. Some of the shades like 999 is already in the permanent collection, but they do have a very cool holiday embossing on the lipstick. And the lipstick case, which is refillable, is also different this holiday season. They're in a gold case, which I think is very, very pretty. And this lipstick case is refillable too, so you can use that all year long. Even after you're done with those limited edition shades, you can still enjoy them with your refills from the permanent collection. And for those people that are not aware, Dior changed their Rouge Dior packaging this year, and I'm going to show you some pictures between the old version versus the new version. So if you do have refills from the older collections, I want to assure you that they work with the new case. I did test it out because I have a lot of refills before they changed the packaging, and I'm really happy that they are compatible, which is something that I really appreciate because, as you know, that Guerlain did something similar. They reformulated their lipsticks, but they changed the case as well, so all the old refills no longer work with the new packaging, which is kind of a shame. But yeah, so I do want to point that out for you guys in case you are worried that this case may not work with your refills that were purchased last year, for example.
Because I already purchased 3 lipsticks from this collection, I did not pick up any additional shades from the Dior Addict line. However, I did pick up the limited edition lipstick case because it is so well made and it is really stunning in person. The embossing on the case is different from each angle and the design is very elegant. So I think this is definitely worth collecting. As for nail polishes, I think the shades are very special, especially the golden glittery color. That's perfect for the holidays. However, I didn't pick them up because I have a similar color from the previous collection, which I still haven't gone through yet. I applied that color on my pinky for your reference. I highly recommend you picking the golden shade up if you don't have something similar in your collection. It is intended to be used as a top coat, but I think it looks beautiful on its own. To create today's look, I first used the matte shades from the face palette to define the shape of my eyes. I first used the light brown color all over the crease, which is not very pigmented and is finely milled. And then I went into the deeper brown shade to add more definition. This shade is more pigmented and cool toned, which is great for contouring and sculpting. I did the same thing on the lower lash line. The eyeshadows are pretty buildable. I applied each color twice and I'm pretty happy with the result. And then I went into the smaller palette to get some shimmery shades. I first used the red color in the center of my lid and the color is pretty pigmented. And then I added a little bit of the purple shade in the outer V. This shade is quite deep. It shows up almost black on my lid. Cherry on top is the center shade from the face palette. It is one of my favorite colors from this collection. I'm going to use it to highlight my inner corner. And then I applied the limited edition highlighter to my face. I really like how this highlighter brings radiance to my face while having that natural finish. We cannot finish this look without the sequin lipstick. So the way how you apply this lipstick is that you have to wait for it to dry for about 5 minutes and then press your lips together to create the glittery effect. 5 minute is up. I'm back with my lashes and eye makeup and I'm ready to press my lips and let them shine. This is a fun experiment and I like how the color look on my lips. So this is the final look, my friends, using the Couture Face and Eyeshadow palettes as well as the sequin lipstick. What do you guys think? I am pretty happy with how they turn out, and I'm certainly very happy with the color 333 sequin lipstick, which I think is perfect for an everyday look.
Let's talk about my final thoughts. I would say the Holiday Couture collection is mostly about packaging. If you already have a lot of the Dior beauty products already, and from that perspective, I would say this year's Couture palettes are absolutely worth it, just given how beautiful the packages are, especially given the fact that you can turn these beautiful creations into everyday essentials such as a card holder and a little wallet. And these palettes are quite thick, so you can actually put a lot of stuff in them. So from that perspective, I definitely think they are worth it. And I would say this year's eyeshadow formulas are really pretty, and I think it's nice that they included a new shade this year as well, as opposed to like the typical beige and red shades that they do every year. So I do think that's a very good breakthrough in that sense. In terms of the 5-shade couture eyeshadows, I did not pick them up. If I have to pick one, I would lean more towards the cooler tone color story, because I think it is very special and it will be a really good palette to use on New Year's Day. But given that I have a big collection of eyeshadow palettes, I feel like I don't really need one that I know I'm not going to use very often. But I mean, it really depends on the collection that you currently have. If you don't have anything like that and you absolutely love that color story, I would say go for it. As you can see from the swatches that I've done in the store, the colors are beautiful and they're quite pigmented, I have to say. So I do recommend them if you like the color story. And in terms of the sequin lipsticks, which is a hit every year since they were launched, I would say definitely pick out one shade from this collection because the formula is very unique. The colors are very, very beautiful, and the glitter is quite elegant. It's not like, you know, the type of glitter lipsticks that we used to use as a teenager. They have a very subtle shine, and the glitters are not very chunky. So I do think these are good investments. As mentioned, I picked out the iconic 999 shade, which I think I can use for dinner parties or holiday celebrations, and I also picked out a more spring shade, which I look forward to using early next year. For Dior Addict lipstick, the 2 refills, I think they're nice, but really it depends on how often you use this lipstick. The texture is a little bit sheer, so it's more of a balm than a lipstick, but it's very comfortable on the lips. I do recommend the case just because how beautiful it is, and I would say this is probably the most beautiful case that they have ever launched from my perspective, so I would definitely say yes to this case. And in terms of the highlighter, I did enjoy it very much. I think the formula is very beautiful, and the holiday embossing is just so elegant, and the holiday embossing is not really stamped on it, meaning that it's not just barely on the surface. I think it will last a while, you know, given how deeply embossed it is on the palette. One downside of this palette is it's not refillable. I wish that they can come out with highlighter palettes that are refillable so that you can put in new products while keeping this old packaging. That I would say is the only downside of this product. Now let's talk about the Rouge Dior lipsticks. I do like how this year they changed the packaging to match the rest of the collection, which I really, really love. And I like how, you know, with this type of packaging, usually you will leave your fingerprints all over it very quickly. But somehow, I don't know what they did to it. I've been using this lipstick for some time now, and I don't really see my fingerprints all over. So I think I certainly enjoy this purchase, but I do have to mention that it is quite a bit more expensive than the permanent collection, and some of the shades are the same, such as 999, so I don't know if you want to pay 10% more just for this beautiful embossing. So that's my view. So this one is more of a maybe. And I would say just, you know, like look at a few more review videos and form a view in terms of what you want to pick out from this collection versus what you already have in your beauty wardrobe. I know that's so tempting to pick out everything from this collection because they're so beautiful. But I mean, like, you know, we all have budgets and we want to spend our hard-earned money wisely. So do think about that before you make any impulsive purchases. That would be my suggestion. I only purchased this many products because I have a YouTube channel and I want to share my thoughts on those products for you guys. But if I don't have a YouTube channel, I probably wouldn't have picked out so many products. For example, I probably wouldn't have picked out this Rouge Dior lipstick because how much more you have to pay for it. And especially given that the permanent collection cases are refillable. So, you know, like I don't really need another new lipstick. So I feel like, you know, you spend some time to think about it and try to make the best decision for yourself. And that's why I started this channel in the first place. I really want to help you spend your hard-earned money more wisely by making the purchases myself and do the reviews to help you with that process. So that's all for today, my friends. I hope that my review is helpful in terms of helping you pick out your favorite item from this collection. If you have any questions, please leave a comment down below and I will try my best to answer your questions. As mentioned, I have a few more Dior Holiday videos coming up, such as unboxing the advent calendar, so please make sure that you subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss out. I really thank you for your support in terms of helping me to grow this channel, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.